Hi, today we're going to talk with Dr. Suppes for a WAMFT member highlight. We're really excited. Bethany's been doing a lot of really exciting things and contributing to our WAMFT community, so we're excited to have her. Yeah, so let's pop everyone on and we can introduce ourselves. Hey everyone. So I'm Billy Tyler. I am a at-large board member for WAMFT and also the membership services chair. And so I've been really excited that this year I want to take more time to really highlight the awesome members that we have in our community. And so everyone can learn more about like what everyone's doing, what they can learn from other people and really enhance our community. So thank you again, Dr. Suppes, for being here. Yeah, Michelle, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Billy. And thank you, Dr. Suppes, for being here. My name is Michelle Findley. I am the president of WAMFT. And like Billy said, I am just happy to have you as a spotlight. And we want to keep doing this so we can learn and connect with our community. So thank you. Amisha.
Hi, Dr. Suppes. My name is Amisha, and I am the student board member. One of the student board members is representing the East Side, and I understand that you work at one of the schools out East, so I'm really looking forward to getting to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was noticing that Spokane is very well represented right now, so the East Side in general is very well represented in this group.
We've been working hard at that, you know, forging a path.
Right.
So that's awesome. Well, Dr. Suppes, we recognize that you wear many hats in the field of MFT, and we were just wondering if you could share a little bit with us about what hats you're currently wearing right now.
Sure. There are quite a few that I suppose I do wear. So of course, the primary is that I do have a private practice and continue to be a clinician here in Spokane. A big part of my practice is also that I provide MFT approved supervision for some LMFT associates in the area as well. And then of course I am an assistant professor and the clinical director at Whitworth University in Spokane, Washington for our Masters of Marriage and Family Therapy program here. So those are my professional hats. You're right, there are quite a few when I list them out that way.
Yeah, and a recent author.
Say that one more time. I'm so sorry.
And a recent author that will
that's right.
a little bit more about.
Yeah, I can speak a little more to that.
Sure.
So, and I talk about this a little bit in the preface of the book as well, that when I first came to Whitworth to be a faculty member here, this was back in 2019, and I was given like the existing syllabi for the different courses that I taught, of course, and was encouraged to change it as needed. And I noticed that for the basic family systems theory class, there were like 4 different books that the students were being asked to buy. And as I looked through the course requirements, I noticed we didn't use a lot of them very often. And the students also just spoke to the challenges financially of buying 4 books for a class as well. So I started looking around at the different options, went to Amazon, went to different publishing pages, and I noticed there was theory books, but not a lot of like overlap between theory and clinical application. And so I decided in the classic Bethany way that the best way to get it done was to do it myself. And I set out to write a book that would cover the basic concepts of family systems theory, and then also fold in more information about what those things actually look like in therapy, including with specific modalities that are commonly taught in family systems programs as well.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
It was a project.
I made Billy. I know we're probably going to get here, but I also want to throw out, you wear a WAMFT hat, a couple of WAMFT hats. You're part of our ethics training and standards committee, and you help with the awards and scholarships task force, I guess is kind of what y'all are. So you're very already involved in WAMFT for being a pretty new in this part of the country. So anyway, I just want to throw that out
should have remembered
honor that
we
hat
just
as
had
well.
a meeting prior to here.
Yeah. So yes,
Okay.
as you sometimes just talking about our hats make us realize all the ones we're wearing. So
yeah, and we're even preparing for our ethics and integrity series that's going to be in April, and I will be doing one of the presentations for that as well.
Oh,
So there's
Very
another
nice.
one.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Thanks for your service with us. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
So, Dr. Suppes, you like you said, you wear many hats, but outside of all of that, what do you do for fun, and what hobbies, or if you have some stupid human tricks or something like that, do you if you have time for any of that, but what do you do for fun?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you asked. It is so important to me to continue having time for those kinds of things. When I do my presentation in April, it's about self-care and ethics, and so I think it's important to speak very candidly to that. Um, I I don't know if I'm going to leap directly to I enjoy exercising, but I have noticed that it does help me feel mentally ready for my day and for my week. I am also a very sometimes indoorsy, sometimes outdoorsy kind of person. So when I enjoy being indoors, I am as big of a fan of Netflix as most people probably are. But I also really enjoy reading fiction, and I enjoy doing puzzles and playing board games.
That's awesome.
So it's a nice combination, I find, too, of things I do by myself, but also things I can do with other people. That's a huge part of taking care of yourself, I find, as well as making sure that you have things you enjoy in both of those camps. And outdoorsy, of course, Spokane is just an absolutely gorgeous area. We have disc golf courses, we have parks, we have hiking spaces. It's been wonderful since moving here.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing over here on the east side for that outdoor stuff. Well, we talked about the hats you're currently wearing. I guess I wanted to know a little bit more about how you decided to go in the field of MFT in general. Kind of what did that journey look like?
Ooh, that is a great, very personal question. I, like many other people, I imagine, came to the field of MFT through my own counseling experience. I was having a really difficult time with some situations in my life in my undergrad, and it was recommended to me that I seek counseling. So I saw an individual therapist while there, and we spent a lot of time talking about my relationships, whether that be with my friends, a romantic partner, or my family of origin. And I just really noticed how amazingly influential those different systems were. And it really made me passionate about mental health, really made me passionate about recognizing the role of our systems in mental health. And so that really fed into my desire to go into therapy overall, specifically looking at family therapy and couples therapy, of course, as well. I really like family therapy. That's probably one of my favorite systems dynamics to work with. And then while I was in my master's program, I noticed a rather prevalent space for burnout already, even in the master's program still. And I really appreciated my experience with specific supervisors that drew attention to that and would acknowledge it and want to work with that, and talk about how to take care of yourself so that you can avoid or prolong burnout to the best of your ability. Graduated, experienced other jobs that also really had a lot of space and opportunity for burnout, and just became very passionate of, I want people to learn as early in the profession as possible how to establish healthy boundaries within themselves and how to practice good self-care, both behaviorally and cognitively. That's something I talk a lot about, is that there's many different ways to do self-care, not just the traditional way that people often think of it or the way that media often presents it. So that was one of the driving forces for me in pursuing my PhD and entering into academia, is to have access to and conversations with people at the very beginning of their mental health professional journey, as master students and potentially as PhD students as well.
Cool.
So a couple different steps, but it's been good. I really enjoyed the supervision, because that's another great space to just continue having that conversation after graduation too.
Yeah. Well, Billy, I didn't know if you had any comments on that, but it's a good segue into my question for you. Because I think what you already talked about is, I am anticipating some things are going to come out with your answers to the next question. So if you could tell us what you love most about being well, first a therapist, an LMFT, but also you're a professor, supervisor, an author, you know, you're again, lots of different hats. You volunteer with us. So can you kind of talk a little bit about what you love most about that?
Absolutely. Because there's multiple things to love ultimately. Of course, I really love getting to offer things that I wish I had when I was first learning about mental health, of course. One of my research passions and my clinical passions is work related to self-compassion, and looking at how that influences relationships with a person within themselves, but also with their surrounding systems. My dissertation was about the role of self-compassion in romantic relationship satisfaction.
Cool.
And that just really opened up a lot of significance for me. Even in the way that I provide education to my students, I strive to be extremely student-centered. And I make a point of telling my students, my door is literally going to be open as often as I can make it be. And I just really strive to make myself available to them and to offer and demonstrate compassion to them in their learning process as well. I strive to fold that into the way that I provide supervision to make sure that they are learning how to treat themselves better and also how to treat their clients better isomorphically. So it's a great joy that I experience. And I include self-compassion work both with my clients and with my supervisees, though in very different ways, of course, to fit those different roles. But that is something I really enjoy talking to those multiple audiences about. As I said, I also found that I have found a great passion for working with families. I particularly enjoy working with the dynamic of teenagers and their parents or with their guardians. That's just a hard life stage for a lot of people. So having a space to process that, and hopefully through a lens of compassion for one another, I find is something I just really enjoy overseeing in those conversations.
That's nice. That's really neat. And I just wanted to say, like, that intersection of self-compassion, I think that's something that, at least in the profession, seems to come into more individual psych spaces, you know, and the way that you infuse that while still being fully rooted in systems and working with families in particular. I think it's just nice to hear. I mean, it's part of why I'm an MFT too, is, you know, that direct relational work. So thanks for sharing that. That's really neat.
Yeah, it's an area that's not super well researched at this point. So I'm hoping to very intentionally and actively find and contribute more research to that.
Yeah.
Another hat, why not?
You have so many, right?
You love hats is what I'm hearing. So you just have a good connection.
I would say I have spoken with some of your students, and I feel like they have echoed what your hope is, that they are getting that. So from the students I've spoke with from Whitworth. So
I'm glad to hear that.
I think it's making a difference. So we talked a little bit earlier about writing your textbook and what kind of led you to that. Is there anything else about the text that you would like, you hope other people know or want them to hear about?
That I hope it is helpful. It is definitely written with students in mind. That's kind of the intended audience, I guess I could say. Sure. That it's really meant to be where students can look at it, but it's a great refresher of just reminding MFTs what it means to be MFTs, and really looking at those core concepts, encouraging clinicians to return to those foundations and to consider how they still fit those foundations into their clinical practices. Like I said, I talk about some different modalities, whether that be narrative or strategic or structural, solution-focused, internal family systems. I talk about how some of those different ones contribute to, or that's not the right word, how the core concepts contribute to, there we go, those modalities. And to me, it's just a really important thing to remind us of why we did MFT, why we did this specific license, this specific type of education, when there are other options for counseling available, of course. That it's a very intentional course of action, and to remind yourself what's different and what's so good and so helpful about the course that we've chosen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting as you're saying that. I just more recently started doing some teaching, and I found it has been such a helpful reminder for me in clinical practice. So it seems like this could be a really useful tool for even those clinical members who maybe don't have the opportunity to teach, or that's not an interest, but to get that refresher of those core systemic competencies. So that's awesome.
That's definitely the hope. Yes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want it to just be useful to students. I would want anybody who's been in the field to feel like they can get something out of it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Okay. Well, to switch gears a little bit. So you're a recent transplant to Washington, fairly recent, and you've quickly gotten involved with WAMFT. So can you share a little bit about that piece of your journey, just being involved with the Ethics Training Standards Committee, the scholarships, being a presenter, a future presenter, all of that. So can you share a little bit on that?
Yeah, so to provide a little bit of history, I am originally from Colorado. I did a lot of my college in Texas. That has a very present association, state-specific association there. And it was very normalized early on to be a part and a member of the association in the state that you're in. So when I came up here, it was not a question for me of whether or not to be in WAMFT. And I really just wanted it to be something where if I can contribute to WAMFT being helpful for other people and encouraging people to see, oh, this is why you want to be in associations, because it gives you connections, it gives you CEUs, it gives you, there's a lot of reasons to be in an association. And if I could contribute to that, I really wanted to just get engaged. Plus, I mean, when you're new to a state, it's nice to just find connections and networks where and how you can.
Yeah. Well, that's music to our ears. That's like a good recruiting video. I feel like this is like doubling as a recruiting video now. No, but thank you. That's awesome, and I'm happy that you are part of it and you felt like you could have a place, especially being new to the state and all that. Like that's awesome. Yeah. So thank you.
Well, and it's been a great learning curve too of just helping me get engaged, like I said, with people. But also just to learn more about what it means to be an MFT in Washington, help me know those ethic codes a little bit better. It's overall, it's been really helpful.
Great.
It's a little more recruiting plug for you.
Nice.
Well, I know I appreciated WAMFT because that's kind of how I got to meet you as well, which we're in the same community, but sometimes it's hard to connect. So it was awesome that WAMFT kind of helped bring that connection together. Do you have any favorite parts about being a WAMFT member?
Yeah, I really do. Like I said it kind of offhandedly, but I actually really do enjoy the CEU connection because I love getting CEs from a systemic perspective. I've really enjoyed getting to participate in the conferences that I've gotten to or in the presentations I've gotten to. And there have been a few different ones about supervision or about, I presented at the state conference last year. I did the ethics and integrity series last year as well. It just is great because there's such a wide range of topics and yet they consistently fold into that systemic perspective. And so I really do enjoy that part of it. I've been kind of bummed, I'll be honest, that most of the time that I've been in Washington, we've had restrictions because of COVID. Like I said, I moved here in fall of 2019, and then of course COVID hit that really intensely early that next year. So I only got to do like one state conference, actually getting to go to Seattle and actually in person interact. But I can't deny that honestly, the online format has also made WAMFT extremely accessible for different conferences and presentations. So while I love the networking piece of being in person, I also love the availability and resourcefulness of doing things online too. I don't know if that answered your question. I just realized.
Yeah. And I think that, that ties so well into I think WAMFT already wanted to kind of expand, and COVID, if anything, just kind of supercharged those hopes.
Accelerated
it up real fast. Yeah,
totally. So I hope WAMFT continues to be able to be accessible kind of in our larger geographical state. So awesome. Well, Misha, I think, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, Dr. Suppes, we really appreciate you coming today and really helping us kick off our blog series for WAMFT. And I just wanted to ask you one more question before we wrap things up. But I have especially appreciated this interview because I'm a student right now. I'm in the middle of my journey of becoming an MFT as well.
That's awesome.
So I just want to know, like, for our WAMFT community and for people that are in school and just like anybody in general, like, what advice do you want to share with us for their next steps or their next career or their career that's going on?
That is a great question. And the first thing that comes to my mind, I'm like, do I want to share this or not? Is just the importance of intentionality. That I would not become a supervisor just so that I could move up and do more things with my job. I became a supervisor because I love that role and I recognize the responsibility that comes with that role and the insight required to encourage students and licensees within that role. Similarly, like, if you want to enter into academia, don't just do it to diversify, do it because you want to contribute to the future of the industry. I don't know if that's, I don't want to seem too preachy as I say this either, but just the importance of intentionality in our work, whether that be work with our clients, making sure that we are mindful of why we do what interventions we do, what models we use, the space that we are in and the way that we use it, the importance of intentionality within that, and just that mindfulness of how we represent ourselves to our clients and to our community as well.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for giving us your time. You are obviously, as we've established, wearing many, many hats. For giving this time to us is very precious, but we definitely appreciate kind of being able to chat a bit more and highlight you because you're obviously contributing so much to the MFT community as a whole, but we're lucky that you're here in Washington and you're getting to contribute to our community directly. So thank you so much.
It is an honor to be considered so significant.
Yeah, awesome.
Nice. May I ask one final question? Is your book already out, or when is it available for folks?
I want to say it's just getting released this month, but I don't remember the exact date. Billy, do you have?
Okay.
It's through Routledge, so I know we can pull up the website and take a gander. Last I looked, it had just said pre-orders for March of 2022. I don't think it gave a specific date.
Yeah, I think that's what I recall seeing too. Yeah, but if you happen to know, we would of course let folks know.
We ran into
share
a
that
couple
information.
of hiccups during the process of it, so it took a little longer, I think, than we were expecting to get it off the ground. But I'm excited that it's out and potentially available, if not now, very soon. It is available.
You can pre-order it right now on, I just looked on Amazon, so it's available for pre-order so that you can get one of those off the press copies.
And hey, if you're in Spokane,
well, that's so awesome.
Maybe I can do a signed copy for you if you come and visit me.
Nice. I like it.
Pick you up on that, since I
am totally down for that.
Awesome.
Really, like the human interactions is my favorite part of my jobs, all of them.
Great.
So.
Thank you. It's a huge accomplishment. So thank